Unfortunately, I'm gonna be the hater on this card. I honestly, I do hate cards like these.
80% of the people were playing the same freaking deck.
Welcome to WWB Ward Wide Broadcast. Happy 4th of July week, everybody. I'm not wearing a 4th of July. Billy, we're not representing very well. But it is a special episode, guys. Episode 20. And we have a very special guest on. Most of you might know him as the Wardmaster in the Discord, but he's Joe Casey, and he is the head. Can I call you this? The head developer of Ward, the trading card game.
You know what? I'll take that. Screw Tom.
Yeah, cut everybody else out. It's the Joe show now.
He just walked out the door, so
he has no way to tell you that you're wrong. So. But yeah, guys, we're gonna obviously kind of interview Joe a little bit, ask him questions, but for the most part, we're just gonna be kind of relaxed, enjoying our holiday weekend here and just kind of going through some Ward stuff with Joe. But first, to start off again, Joe, this isn't something you're a part of, but obviously you do know that we threw on the WWB League and. I should say Billy is he's kind of leading the whole thing right now, but we have the Summer Ward Fantasy League, and Tommy is playing in that, and I was kind of curious, Joe, what's your thought about just people throwing on, leagues or events or things that like aren't so much official, but are just kind of like representing your game? Like, how does that kind of feel for you?
I can't stand it whatsoever.
Yeah, all right.
No, I love it. Love it 100%. It's great to see the community start to take it and do their own things. Another one is a place up north. Iron Range Sports Cards is starting his own little kind of in-house league as well, and we worked with him to allow him to still have that one tournament a month allowed to be official as well. So I know some out in California they're going to start doing that as well too, because we got a bunch of guys out there playing now, especially after that last tournament. It drove up quite a bit of interest, and there's another one out there at a place called The Block, which is out in, I can't remember what town it's in, but the Block's got another official happening out there. But yeah, to have people starting up their own leagues, I'm all for it. It actually kind of helps take a little bit of pressure off of us trying to run these, and because if people don't think it's a lot of work to run a tournament. Like, it's a lot to get it promoted, to get a hold of the business that we're going to go to, make sure everybody knows we're coming in, to set up prior, getting the brackets set up prior to getting the there's a lot to it. They're a lot of fun as well, and it's fun to see how they go, so it's definitely worth it. But yeah, there's a lot of work behind it, and I think you've hosted at least one, I know, online, and it can be a headache to keep everybody in line.
Yeah, even just online, even just on an online tournament, you're right. It's like just trying to like make sure everything's all set up properly, things are going smoothly. Yeah, no, I definitely feel it a little bit, and I'm sure Billy might be able to talk on it too. Like I said, I mean, I think the whole reason, like you were saying, with the kind of like a down, like a lower point of Ward right now of just like official tournaments and stuff. That's kind of where I think Billy was like, hey, why don't we throw on this league? Kind of give people that are very into the game an ability to play even more Ward, and then also people that are from all over who can't just come to all these tournaments also be able to play. Mm-hmm. So I guess for Billy, if you want to, again, just kind of like maybe we could just recap over a little bit of just this week for, like you said, maybe go over some of the decks, maybe go over a little bit of your thoughts of how the league is going just after like week one, Billy.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Joe's 100% right. It has more work than I thought it would be just to get everything prepped, because I'm like, okay, I got to think about, what do you do for an entry fee? Like, how many people need to play? Like, what do the week looks like? How long should it run? What do the matches look like? Should we change? There's just so much that goes into it. And like, once you get it set up, it's like, it's fine, but it's like, there's a lot to go on to it. And like, I guess I have the luxury with the league we're doing, since it's like 8 or 10 weeks long, I have it all spread out, but it's still like, if you were to add all that up and try to truncate that into one day, it's like, yeah, I'd be pretty tired. And then like also like getting a hold of that we don't have to do like in a facility, it's just in your home. But if you have to get like a facility, you have to get people running it, like have an event space, like, yeah. And then you have to worry about time too, right? Because like if the store's like, oh, we're open to 8, you're like, okay, well, are we running out of time or not? Like, and then trying to manage the games, I get it. But it's been going pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. We've had our first week. Everyone's played their games. I posted the standings. I'm happy that everyone got them in before the holiday, so people just go and not worry about it and have their holiday. So It's pretty good. I really like seeing one. It wasn't a
I
requirement,
might be
but
cut.
yeah, you're in and out a little bit.
Yep. Oh, we might have lost Joe for a second.
Cutting.
Joe. Oh,
Yeah, you're in and out.
you're back.
Yeah,
You're back.
yeah.
now.
Oh, there you go.
It's gonna
Okay,
be me.
back.
I'm gonna cut out. I'll cut out here and there. Sorry.
No,
Our
you're
internet's
good.
been pretty-
But were you
Yeah,
about to say something, Joe? Or
No, I was just gonna agree. Yeah, that
Oh.
it's tough to put on the tournaments, but it's worth it. It's really fun, and us coming from me and Tom especially, and Marty too. We came from a very kind of sports background, and I know you'd wrestled Harry, and
Yep.
you know how those go.
Oh yeah.
So we've always enjoyed the competition aspect of this stuff. And given it's a card game, we're not in a sport or anything like that, but it's the same thing. It's one of my favorite things is actually that's why we do brackets, is because I love having the brackets set up, and then mid-tournament you got the consolations going on, you got the championships, and everybody's looking. They're like, oh, if I beat this guy, then I'm here, and if they lose, I go here. And I've always found that really fun, and it's kind of fun to see everybody else do it. And I think something me and Tom are gonna do is we're gonna try to jump in a lot more this coming season and play a lot more as well. And it's
Ooh.
hard because yeah, we just want to get into it a little bit and actually play.
Oh, I
Um,
feel you get that competitive itch, right? You're just like, hey,
yeah,
I kind of see what's going on here and what's playing. I'm kind of
well, because I
curious,
always
yeah. I'm a little curious. I wanted to get to it later, but I think just for a little preview, I think we are going to talk about what we all think might be like the strongest. Like I want to call it strong takes, but what we all think are like kind of where Ward like what is the strongest like cards or like what is the kind of the strongest like uh mechanic, I guess you could say, in Ward that like is kind of like leading the competitive scene. But I think we'll get there later. Like I said, I just wanted to
yeah,
finish up
yeah,
the summer tournament. But yeah, like you said, I think it is really nice to know that like even for you, Joe, it's like, hey, these things that we're not putting on that technically aren't official, but like are just things that a bunch of like the fans and community are doing. It's like, hey, if anyone wants to, let's just try to give as many opportunities to these people to like spread this content, this kind of stuff, ways to play Ward, ways to interact with Ward. And I think you're right. It's like I'm glad that you guys support that a lot, because I know some other people or like other trading card games are like very stingy about like, hey, we don't want anyone using our IP, we don't want anyone like taking our stuff, or like not really like allowing anyone access to it. And so it's like it's kind of nice to see that it's like you guys are pretty supportive with the community that you have.
yeah. Ward is very much so a community fan game. Given yes, me and Tom are doing all the work, but we made the game because we're just a couple of guys that just have fun playing games. And that's how you guys have heard the story a bazillion times, but for those at home, we made Ward just to be for us. It was just going to be our game to play out at our cabin on our nerd weekends, and because it was so fun, we ended up, well, it was more Tom. Tom decided, hey, maybe we should try to go public with this and try to sell it a little bit. And I told him no. I wanted nothing to do with that. At the
Oh,
time, I was
that's funny. You're the
looking.
naysayer. I for a second
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you. I was like, who was the naysayer that was selling everybody in their group that was like, I don't know if we can do this, guys, But is it gonna be you?
Yeah.
Are you actually just the naysayer?
It's still me. It's whenever anything happens. I was calling Tom last week. We're having some issues just on the back end with some ad internal stuff. And I'm calling Tom like, "Oh my God, what is this? Like, this is I left my job for this. I retired early and like it's all falling apart."
So is your internet.
Yeah, it's funny. He's like the most committed man. It's like if you look at it from the front end, you're like he's the most committed man, and then on the back end, he's like I'm the most hater of my own game.
You
Oh,
dropped for a
all the time.
second.
I love it.
Yeah. It's yeah. I always joke that Ward is I'm gonna die by my own creation someday.
No, but I mean, I'm glad to hear it. Like you said, it's like you're at a point now where it's like it's getting big enough where it's like, hey, I need to like go full time with this, and I think that is like kind of a cool thing, that like you said you can save with it. I'm also curious, like back to just the whole like when you guys were beta testing this game. It's like who did you feel like was the best Ward player at the beginning?
Yeah, at the beginning I might be cutting out. Shoot.
No, you're good. I think
Good, you're good.
you're still clear.
Oh, there it goes.
Oh. He's doing his best, folks. Don't worry.
Okay, sorry. Yes, once again, like I said, we got MediaCom here. They're not friendly.
Yeah,
So
it's okay. Better than Tyler.
yeah.
Tyler just yawns through like half of the things he talks about, so it's all good.
So yeah, in the beginning when we were doing the initial beta testing, which was honestly just us playing, it was, I believe John was the one kicking everybody's butt.
Okay.
It kind of yeah, he had kind of a nasty combo going with some of the creatures, and he was beating people up. Tom was doing okay, but he was kind of thinking a little too hard into like the combos, and it was actually so in war in the early days of Ward, there was kind of a strategy where if you held your cards too long, you would start to end up having to discard too much because you have to in Ward because of discarding after when you have 9. It's kind of forces you to play your hand
Yep.
like other games. So, and in the early days, we kind of had a mix up where there was actually more creatures than magic, so you did end up with like way too much in your hand. But yeah, so Tom kept running into that issue. My issue when I was playing it right away, I was still having fun, but I kept trying to play it too much like Yu-Gi-Oh, like way too much, even though like the mechanics and everything were like different.
Did
And
you?
I kept
I'm
losing.
kind of
I
curious.
don't know, John just
Did you
yeah.
bring the limited summons into the game, or whose idea was limited summons?
We had them right off the bat.
Uh,
The very first time we had done it, we
I
had
feel like
limited
if you're a
summons 'cause
Yu-Gi-Oh guy, you're kind of the limited summon guy, or am I wrong with
yeah.
that? Yeah.
No, so I like limited summons. I don't base whole decks around them. Just because in the early days of Ward, limited summons weren't super powerful, and honestly, until really the last few months, a limited summon deck had never won a tournament. So people would always say like, "Oh, they're overpowered," and we were like, "Well, until a limited summon deck comes away with a championship at a tournament, like I'm probably not changing anything." But a few things with the limited summons that we are going to address is I personally none of this is changing right now, okay? So this is just plans. Um, is basically every limited summon has to have an anchor. That's how I think the game needs to work. Is because I'm not a huge fan of how the limited summon rule works in general because it's confusing for new players. They
Right.
get a card out like they play Squire, right? And then their primary dies and like, what the hell do I do with this now? But if you use Necro, for example, it literally tells you on Necromancer what happens to that limited summon. If
Right.
Necromancer, it's negated, leaves the field, so on. It tells you exactly on it what happens. And I think, we are, with Gen 3, we are about 100%, we are 100% moving more to that route rather than basically falling back on the limited summon rule. Now, for things like Squire, Harpy, yeah, we're not gonna go and rewrite those cards again because it's even though we
Right.
talk about that all the time, like going and rewriting a card, and Marty's he's the one for this. He's like, oh, it's not a problem, just rewrite the card and everything's good. I'm like, dude, you're talking about like I have 50,000 packs here with the wrong writing. It's not as simple as just writing it, like so it's not
Yeah.
as easy. And if it was a video game, sure, that's easy. One
Right.
update and everything's fixed. But yeah, so you kind of have to make do with everything, and that's why what Tom does with the extended card descriptions has helped a ton. And I know he works on those pretty hard. He's calling me all the time, and we always get into bicker. We bicker back and forth all the time, and then I'll be like, oh, "Call Marty, see what he says." I'm like, "Okay, Marty's leaning toward Tom," and I'm like, "I don't agree. Call John. John's leaning toward Tom." I'm like, "God damn it, fine, okay, let's do that." So
No.
we usually try to bounce it around with all of us, and then even drop Q in, even though Q doesn't have a ton of input on it. But sometimes somebody's outside brain of trading card games is the most useful thing the most useful resource that you have.
Right.
Because I'll tell you
Keeps you
right
kind of
now,
grounded, right? Because they keep you in that like zone of like, all right, this is the game. Let's just stay in the zone. Don't get
well,
don't get too
and
crazy.
they don't get locked into mechanics. So Casey's in here, and I see Casey. You played a ton of Magic. I know that, and it's hard. And we were big. I played a ton of Pokemon, played a lot of Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh as well. And I get locked in to like how those games work, and I feel like it should always work that way. Why? I don't know, because it does.
Hmm.
Well, when we were making the game initially, Q was the one who came up with the idea of the 300 health points into the cemetery. And for me, I'm like, I've never heard of that before. And she just doesn't play card games, so like She wasn't locked into that,
Right.
which has been, that's what I mean by it's such a useful resource.
Hmm.
And we've always tried to aim Ward at people who don't even play a ton of card games. Your friend, Adam. Adam,
Adam
starts
V.
with a V.
Yep, Adam
Yeah.
V.
Adam
Vaselski,
V.
but yeah, Adam V.
He's never played a trading card game before. At least that's what he told me. But he
Hmm.
got locked in Ward, and he did very well at the tournament. Actually, very, very well.
He
For a guy
also
who doesn't-
unfortunately he also did have to he had to come in with a group of people, like, you know, he has me, Tyler, we're all kind of work from the same place, so he has a lot of the higher end players of War definitely in his ears. So I feel a little bad because, like you said, it's like he is doing well, but he also kind of went through, like, unfortunately, the boot camp of, like, I want to play this card, and we're just like, nah, that card's not that strong if you're you know. So unfortunately I feel like we might have accidentally sucked a little bit too much of the fun out of the game for him, because we're just like, well, this counters this and this counters this, and you got to be careful of this. And yeah, I do feel feel for him a little bit, but I know what you mean. It is nice having somebody else who, like, doesn't fully, like, isn't sucked into, like, oh, this is how this works and this is how this works and this is how this works. And I'm sure those are probably, like, your least favorite conversations, like you said, debating with Tommy about, like, oh, how should we do the extended card text so that, like, high level players aren't having problems with this card. For sure.
Well, and my point with Adam was he's somebody who's never played a trading card game before, at least not, like, competitively. From what he told me when we talked in Hibbing, my point is we've been trying to grab that. Those are the people we want to grab. We also want the hardcore players too. I know Casey's played a ton of Magic, and but we also always, so when we design anything with the game, we go one end. We're like, okay, how are people who...
Oh, what a beautiful image. I'm about to keep a screenshot that. Look at him.
How does somebody who's never played, how are they going to be when they see the game?
Yeah.
Like, are they going to now not know what the heck this card even does? So we always have to think from the eyes of, like, the hardcore and the brand new player coming in, and then building your own deck. And how does this card work in a pack crack? How does this card work in a draft? Is this card useless in Gen 3 by itself, and it can only be played in Gen 2? So, and that's something we try to stay away from. We never want a card that is unplayable in the generation by itself.
Right. No, I think that's a good understanding of, like, the card. Like you said, it's like, hey, like, what fun is a card if, like you said, it relies too much on other things to be, you know, viable and useful. And I think I really do like kind of that input that you're giving of just, like, kind of the process you go through to, like, figure out those things of, like, hey, where are we going to with this, and where can we go? I do have another personal question for you, Joe. Irresistible Love. You got to tell me, whose idea was that card? I really need to know.
Irresistible was all of our idea as a response to the negate heavy play that was Gen 1 initially.
Okay.
That was the plan with her. We wanted a card that would just shut down those people that their whole deck was all just magic negates. And she worked a little too well.
Yeah.
So I think she works. I think her being limited, I think she fits just fine being limited. I would like to see her actually be changed to maybe a little bit better chance to roll out of it. But then again, is she worthless now? I understand she's an uncommon. She probably shouldn't be, but
Yeah.
she. But then on the flip side, God, it's so hard because when we did testing with her, we just must have got lucky because she never could stay on the field for more than a turn or two. People were rolling out of it so fast, so we kind of didn't feel like she needed to be bumped up. But then I see matches that happen. I feel bad for. It was in not the Ward Bowl. It was in one of the online tournaments. Jesse got locked down.
Yeah. Speaking
Jesse
of
got
Adam,
knocked
I'm pretty
down.
sure Adam V played it, and it was like 7 or 9 turns, or I don't even remember.
Yeah, so I was reffing that game, and it was 8 turns, and I saw Jesse's hand, and I'm like, oh my god, if he gets out of this, he's going to throttle Adam, but he could not get out of it. And it's luck, I get it. I do know that there are some things in Untap that don't quite fit true random, from what I understand. We've been doing a lot of research into Untap, and I don't want to not use it. I love Untap. I think it's a great resource and a great way to host online tournaments. But we did kind of a little internal testing when it came to, I think we used Scarlet as our example, where basically we're just rolling regular dice, seeing how many times we got doubles, and then trying to match it on Untap to see how many times we get doubles. And there was a significantly, I think we did it over 100 times or so as our test. And it was significantly less on Untap that you'd roll doubles. I don't know why. I don't know what their programming is behind it. You'd
Yeah.
think it'd just be through random, right?
Right.
But
And I guess, I
so
mean,
then, like,
like you said, it is hard to tell because, like, sometimes, like, people do roll and get out of Scarlet. I find that a lot of people tend to not play Scarlet as much. I mean, obviously, it was way more oppressive in just Gen 2.
Well,
I mean, with the whole tournament on Untap that literally was decided because of Scarlet's Billy, cough, cough, Billy, cough,
I
cough.
know. Yeah.
Well, if you're rolling 4 dice because of the creator's gift, I mean, yeah.
But yeah,
but
that's
my
a whole other
fault.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Those are
You'll
just
never
bad
roll that
odds.
in real life either.
No. And,
yeah.
and
You never roll
I'm
off
kind of
that,
curious
so,
to
like,
get back to, like, Irresistible Love, though, Joe. It's like, in the future, I guess, like, when you have an oppressive card like that card, I'm kind of curious, like, I have my own opinion of, like, if a card, let's say you make another Irresistible Love, right? And it's just like, okay, with this card, instead of making it where they're just completely locked out, what if they have to discard a card in order to play a card? Or, you know, the mechanics that it's like, it does cost value to play it, but it also is, like, still playable underneath. You know what I mean? So it's like, it doesn't just fully shut your opponent out. I guess that's kind of at least for me, like, the mindset that I think would probably make the game feel a little healthier. Because like you said, nothing feels worse than being like, I have this hand of very good, fun things that I want to play, and I just can't do anything because one card is literally just stopping me from basically just interacting with the game in any way. So it's like,
yeah, and she was, like I said, she was designed because we hated the negate happy way that Gen 1 was initially. And don't get me wrong, Gen 1 was still fun. It was still a blast to play. It was but we just, when we'd go to every tournament, and I think Billy, you had brought this up, that when you first learned, somebody had said, here are the 9 cards you have to have, and they're basically like all negates. And yeah, and then we're just like, God, we just hate that way. So we kind of like overcorrected, but yeah,
I
there's
think
stuff in Gen.
I think it's crazy in Gen 1 it was negates. When I look at Gen 1 creatures, I feel like there's just so many weak creatures that it's like, did
Yeah.
equipment just not matter? Like, I feel like there's probably times people were just playing games and you're just rolling like against like an AL11 or something and you just can't hit. It's just like, how do I hit them without buffing
Yeah,
my creature?
I'm glad you brought that up. So in Gen 1, that was another thing that we had an issue with that we corrected in Gen 2 was not in like higher end games you wouldn't have issues, but in lower end games like pack cracks and stuff, you would find yourself that basically somebody would buff their creature up to an armor level 12 and you'd never hit them. And they're basically just invincible against you the entire game until maybe you put in like some magic rings or something that were boosting your hit. So that was why you see in Gen 2, there's quite a few more cards that do have higher modifiers. And, excuse me, just making it so like you're not guaranteed to hit, but you're not going to be stuck behind 5 turns of just never or more never hitting this creature.
Right.
So that was another thing we had to make when it came to Gen 2. I know in Gen 2 we definitely caught our footing, and I have heard a lot of people say they prefer Gen 2 over 1 quite a bit.
I have to.
that's
That's where I
because-
came in. Unfortunately, I put it over Gen 1.
Yeah, but there's others that say they just like Gen 1 better, and they like the chaos that Gen 1 brought with all the crazy magics that basically don't have any repercussion for playing them. Like Holy Light, take
Yeah.
any card out of your cemetery with no cost.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
So it was, yeah, with Gen 2, we definitely found our footing a little better. The fact that as of right now, we feel that the only card that needs to be on that limited list is Irresistible Love, compared to Gen 1, where we have a plethora of cards that
Yeah, I think that's fair.
every time we go over the limited list, we look at Gen 1, and we'll be like, huh, why is this card on there? Maybe we can pull that off. And then one of us remembers, like, oh, that's why, because X, Y, B, whatever.
I'm kind of curious. Did you guys find with Gen 2 too? Like, I just think again from Gen 1, it's like there's a lot of destruction built in with a lot of like draw power. Was your Gen 2 idea too? Was just like, here, we really don't want like draw power at all in this like gen, I guess, in my opinion. Like, how did you feel about that? Or was it just kind of what happened?
Yeah, so Do you mean like toward discarding? Is that what you're talking about, or
Well,
draw power by like being able to
I just
draw
think
more
like cards like Twister or Dragon Rage, like there
Oh,
really
yeah,
isn't
yeah.
like anything in Gen 2 that like really has like those destruction built in or like those like draw power built in. I'm just kind of curious, like, is that kind of the
I think
route
it
that you
is.
feel like is healthy for Ward?
Yeah, we don't like drawing extra cards. That's because being able to draw more cards and force more cards into your opponent's hands are a way to get them to discard and a
Right.
way to get yourself to artificially win the game. And we always want to keep the focus of Ward on the battlefield. So that's why me personally, when that Maniac build came out and people were like, oh my god, it's impossible to beat until Scarlet existed. I
Billy cough
although
cough.
yeah, so I realized in that whole thing happened because of a bad call we had made at an early tournament of Gen 2 that
Yeah.
had never come up. And it was just a bad call. It was. And we had to go back on it. Like, you know what? No, that isn't the way this works. So we had to do it. I still think that deck's a strong build. I still think Tyler should use it, by the way. I want to see how it'd do. But
Me
so
too.
I had no issues with it because the win was happening on the battlefield by
Right.
killing creatures. So I was okay. I couldn't stand in Gen 1 how the meta became play the Jester, discard them, Stone Golem them, discard them again, force a bazillion cards in their hand, force them to discard, and the game's over. Couldn't stand it, and it'll never come back again. As long as
Yeah.
I'm running Ward, you'll never see discarding, and you will never see cards that give you.
No, I think that's like a very healthy mindset. Like I said, I like to bring it up. It's like in a game of 30 cards, which is already like probably one of the lowest card games that have for like card deck size. It's like you really don't need too much draw power. I really do. I have to applaud you, where I can. It's like the tutoring cards that you have in the game, at least at this moment, like Dragon Tamer, Equip Knight, like they're all just very niche cards. I mean, maybe besides Elkanos, let's just avoid that. But a lot of them are very niche where they like, you have to play them in an archetype or they just kind of have their own play style to them where it's like not every deck can just run these cards. I mean, they could, but it's like you still have to find ways to like give that deck value with those cards. And so it's like I'm kind of glad that you guys, I think you did a very good job with those tutors in with like as a mechanic.
So yeah, I'll be clear on that one. Maybe something like Dragon Tamer would exist again, something like that lets you, that's very specific. So it could really only work with like, I don't know, let's just say beast type creatures, just winging it. Like dig through your deck and grab any beast type creature. Maybe that's what it is. But something that there won't be anything that will just let you dig through your deck and pull out any card you want.
Right.
Because because I know other trading card games don't do that either because they get into trouble when stuff like that. Sangan. Does anybody ever play Yu-Gi-Oh?
Oh yeah,
Sangan.
don't worry.
Nerdless, baby.
I was gonna say
Sangan.
we got a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh guys in here for sure.
Yeah.
I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh. I think Billy definitely played some Yu-Gi-Oh. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yep. So Sangan, you could. I think it was if he dies or
Yep.
something, you can dig through. They have to be 1,500 or less, and you could dig through and pull them out.
Mm-hmm.
When I first saw that was a card that was banned, I couldn't understand it. I'm like, why? Because I wasn't like a hardcore Yu-Gi-Oh guy. We just played for fun.
Yeah.
And like this card's so crappy. Like that's not even that good. Why? Well, then I started looking into all these different weird metas that card allowed, and then it made sense.
Yeah.
So, and that was I figured that out long before Ward. So we try to stay away from stuff like that. We try to stay away from really anything that takes away from the battlefield. So that's where even like the Alkanost, I know it's all the rage right now, but hey, it's a good deck. It's you still won on the battlefield. Like,
Yeah.
that's still how you.
Well,
Yeah,
and
it's
sometimes it can punish you pretty. I mean, and that's the thing is like I think like people sit at them like they look at it like, oh, if they get their perfect hand, it's like any deck, if they get their perfect hand, yeah, they should be strong. It's like if they're not, then it's like, well, what's the point of running those cards, right? So it's like I do agree with you. I think a lot of people too with Elkanost. Sorry, I didn't mean to take over, but like they also just I don't think they all like read what cards were probably better to like deal with the Elkanost. But I don't want to get off this whole topic of like the tuners yet, Joe. I am kind of curious, like just with the whole draw power tutors, all these things in your game. I want to also say that like cards like Wrath of the Old One, I don't know how you feel about Wrath of the Old One, but just the fact of a card that doesn't give you card advantage, but it takes cards from your field or your hand potentially, depending on whatever, however you want to make these cards, put them back in your deck and then allow you to get that same value of cards. I think those cards might be like the perfect like version of what like Ward kind of needs. I was curious what your thought is on that. Like, I know Wrath of the Old Ones, you guys limited it for I believe for very good reasons. I'm on board with it. Billy might disagree, but how do you feel about a cards that just give you the same value back and forth but let you interact with your deck still? Because I think the game still needs some version of that.
Yeah. So and that's the trick, is trying to figure this out, is because you want people to play the higher armor levels because they're the intended creatures to come out and be strong, but with cards like Wrath of the Old One, Judgment, all the bazillion kickback cards from Gen 1 existing, it frightens people from playing those because my creator deck, that's what I play all the time. And I literally have cards in there just to be prepared that somebody's about to play that on me. It's you spend all the resources, dump creatures to get a strong creature out, and they're like, you know what, throw it back in your hand. And it's a waste. And in other card games, that's not so bad. But the way Ward is built with how you're managing your cemetery, that is huge. Like, essentially you just free killed 2 of my creatures if I got an armor level 12 out.
With one card, right? That costed you nothing. Yeah.
Really. If it's Terrifying Roar, it costs you nothing. You just played it and kicked him back. But then there's the other side of it. Because during the initial testing of it, we had seen that some of the higher armor levels, you'd get them out and you'd buff them up, and how do you stop them? Like, I can't hit this thing. I can't do any damage to it. It's wrecking everything I have. I have nothing to give me an advantage in it. So then that's where we had designed a couple cards like Wrath of the Old One, like Terrifying Roar, which Terrifying Roar, if you didn't know, actually used to allow you to choose which card to kick off the field.
Oh, wow.
Not just your... So
that's actually would be much stronger then. Yeah, it'd be pretty crazy.
Well, you basically, it got to a point where you could full heal your own creature.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yep, that's what Wrath is right now. So it's in Gen 3, I will say that we think we've found, without saying too much about it, because I've already been told by the guys to not talk too much about anything in Gen 3.
There you go. Good call. Good thing they got your back there. we
we
will gladly try to take whatever we can from you, but yeah. No, for sure.
They cut him off.
Oh no! Sorry, they came for him. They came for him. They cut the broadcast. He's talking about Gen 3. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I know. The powers that be. Yeah, Tom's controlling this from his car.
Yeah, right. But no, Gen 3 you think is putting it in a better state, I'm assuming, for Ward?
I think we found a couple things and ways to and once again, we went outside the box on this one. People that don't play card games, because it's nice to get an outside view a little bit and then try to bring that into something that actually works, because it doesn't always work that way, and find some things that, one, are going to give more life to the armor level 12s, and also have ways to deal with someone who has an armor level 12 that you just can't beat with raw power. So as of right now in Gen 2, there are options for that we kind of started leaning into. Martial Arts Man.
Burn.
All the instant damage. Yeah, all the
I would think like Absolute Terror. Like, when I think about it, it's like that's a pretty good card Absolute to like Terror. Put on a big creature. It's just, ticking time bomb in a sense.
That card doesn't get enough love. That card, personally, I think I try to put it in like all my decks, because like if I can equip that to somebody and just like not attack them and just watch them kill themselves.
It's funny you say that, because Tommy just lost to Alec Kermit, ranked number 1 Alec Kermit. I got to give him his right title. He played a deck with Jester and Absolute Terror in our summer league, and it totally demolished Tommy's deck. So yeah. Maybe it is secretly a good card. People just aren't using it yet.
Yeah, it's, and we'll be the first to admit we're not the best Ward players out there, and I would love to be, but when you're trying to run the whole business behind the game, there's a lot of other stuff that we have to take care of, and we don't have time to sit and play it all the time.
Hey, it's okay that you can be the best Gen 3 player right now, because you're the only one who has access to it. So you know what? There you go. You get to have those titles.
Tom slaughtered me when we did our playtesting at Gen 3. There was definitely a couple cards in Gen 3 after our first play test that we knew were not going to work in the game. Oh, you know what? I can tell you that one because it's not going to be in the game. We had a card
Ooh.
that immediately flip-flopped your creature's health and your opponent's creature's health.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Yeah,
You got to be
some
careful
testing
with those.
people, like,
It's kind of
we're
messy.
like, you know what? It's like Turncoat, but better, essentially.
Coat.
Yeah. Turncoat's a card that I love Turncoat. The only reason I don't like Turncoat, and I've considered having it removed from the game entirely, is because when we play, and Stone Golem's another one like this too, we've seen people walk off with other people's cards, and I worry so much that
Yeah.
someone's going to leave and they're going to have someone's card, and then it becomes this whole thing, oh crap, who's got my card? What happened?
That's
So
fair.
that's not really a gameplay thing, but it does worry me sometimes that people are going to walk off with other people's cards. So that's why we've tried to also change things. I think I saw somebody brought it up in the Discord. They're like, "Oh, do I keep the Magic card if I Magic steal it?" No, don't. Give it back to your opponent. Put it in their cemetery. Please don't leave with their card.
Yeah.
So,
No, that
that's
makes
just
a
one of
lot
my
of sense.
Yeah, I know it's an outside of the gameplay type
Yeah,
thing.
but it makes sense.
I don't want someone to leave with somebody else's legendary in their deck,
And you don't
and then a whole
literally
argument.
steal their card.
You literally Magic steal it.
You
Hey,
just use it for the game.
You just need to put in the text on Turncoat is if you they keep your card, you keep Turncoat. You know, then it's okay. Then it's a trade.
No joke. I won't say who it was or what convention, but I was at a convention teaching somebody how to play Ward, and Magic Steel was in the demo decks, and he used it, and he's like, "Do I just get to keep this card?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, you get to use it right now." He's like, "No, do I like take it home?" And I thought he was joking at first, so I was playing along with it, but no, he was serious. Like he thought he got to take it.
That's funny.
We meet some fun people.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you meet all sorts of
We
characters.
meet some interesting folk.
That's funny.
We'll be at
But speaking of strong cards, I do want to kind of pivot. I love the stories, and I want to keep the stories going. But I want to make sure we get Billy and we're all getting in here. And so back to that strong takes. I am very curious, and I want to start with Billy too. Billy, what is your strong cards in Ward right now? I know, putting you right on the spot. That personally you feel like are like at the top level, and that like potentially might like Joe's saying, like they might need to be looked at or maybe like viewed a little bit just to make sure, you know, see how strong they are. Do you want to be put on the spot?
What do you mean? Because like I'm just gonna look at the limited list and say these are my favorite limited cards.
Right.
Well, I just think personally, like, you know, like what I guess I don't want to say cards. I want to say more like mechanic. Like, what is the strongest mechanic in Ward that you think, like, you know, maybe needs adjustments or maybe is just like, you know, it is good that it is strong. It may, you know, I just kind of want your take on that if you could. So it doesn't even have to be a card, more just like a mechanic. I kind of want to give Joe some feedback with this because I'm sure, you know, it's like helps them out a little bit.
I'll see if it's something we've talked about or not already.
Yeah, and then we can get a cool story out of Joe too with it, so it's all good. We'll get it all in there.
I will say discarding was a good removal from, like, discarding strats was a good removal from the game, even though I played it. Because
Well, it was the meta.
I
so
mean,
like, why not? You kind of had to.
why not?
Yeah.
I mean, so Harry, imagine a world where Jester makes you discard a card. You're able to wrath it 3 times. You can keep removing it from the field. You eventually get to a spot where your opponent has 0 cards in their hand because they've played them and you've kind of tricked 2 or 3 of them out of your hand, and then you give them a Stone Golem.
Yep.
Right.
Every time they draw the discard, all you have to do is just wait till they discard a high creature and you win the game. So that's not good. I mean, yeah, it
wasn't fun. Yeah, that
That's
part
not
wasn't
fun.
Yeah, that part wasn't fun. Yeah.
All right.
Strong,
With that out of the game, kind of what would you say is just like a mechanic that, like you said, like we were talking about, like drawing, like is there, or like, you know, we also have like battling or bouncing, like we were just talking about, you know, terrifying roar and stuff. It's like what mechanic in the game right now that you feel like is like kind of like the strongest thing in the competitive scene?
I think everything in the game has something to counter it, which means I don't think anything is inherently so strong that it's like ridiculous. The only one thing you could say is that removing HP out of your cemetery because it's a win con it's the only win con. Well, that's not true. It's one of the only win cons. So if you can,
With time, yeah,
like,
with time
yeah.
requirements.
Well, forget time. I mean, so you either run out of you over 300, or you run out of creatures.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can delay the clock of you running out of creatures slower than your opponent's running out of creatures, you win. Like, that's super strong. There's nothing really. No, there's something to stop it. Bound with Change. No one plays with it. Maybe that's a
Bound
card
with
that
Change.
needs to. Yeah, I mean, there's
I put it in
cards
one of
that.
my decks, and we were doing some testing, and Bound with Change is nasty. It actually is a really nasty card, and I had never used it because I don't know. I always had cards that I needed to pull things out, so I got scared.
Right.
But I now built a deck that's kind of a little bit more control, and basically just stop your opponent from doing anything. I actually got the idea from Brian Challens, and who was using it, and it's actually pretty good. It can kind of mess with somebody.
I've wanted to make a Bound with Chains deck. I haven't gotten there yet. You know, I told you.
I just worry that in this meta too, there's a lot of destruction. I guess this is the thing that maybe I'm giving my strong take is that there is, at least with Gen 1, there's a lot of just built-in destruction cards, and it almost feels like you don't need to worry about having just, like, I come from Gen 2. Gen 2, Magic Eater. You needed Magic Eater. Like, if you did not have that card in your deck, there was times your opponent would just have enough equips. Like Tyler, he would have, 2 Creator Gift and whatever on his creature. And it's just like, you're getting hit with like 40 damage every turn if you don't have a way to destroy this. So it's like, I feel like, sorry, Billy, I'm kind of taking my take here, but I think destruction is something going forward that's definitely maybe just going to need to be looked at a little bit more of just like how much destruction. Because like if you look at Gen 1, Twister, Silence from the Grave, Dragon Rage, like I'm just, like obviously the draw power things, but just have this built-in, power to them. So it's like you're getting the draw and this destruction on board. I mean, there's many more that I didn't name, but I guess for me, it's like that's kind of the powerful thing. But like you were saying, Billy, sorry, I don't want to finish. I want you to kind of finish up your thought with your take of just like,
fine. Yeah,
so
I don't.
We definitely. Oh, go ahead, Billy.
No, I was about to say that's the only thing I think of. But Bound with Chains is a card, so I just think there's nothing inherently so strong that there's no counter for.
Yeah.
And destruction, I don't think so either. There's plenty of negate cards in the game, so
that's fair. But that's where I look at cards. Like I'm sure for you, Joe, you were saying with like Bound with Chains, it's like, oh, I don't really ever think about putting in my deck because it's like you do think about it. You're like, it is a powerful card, but all my opponent needs is one card that literally just destroys, like it just gets destroyed off the board. It's like, am I really gonna put 3 Bound with Chains, 3 of my 30 cards, 1/10 of my deck is just to stop that one interaction? Like it's hard to justify.
Yeah, so what I found with the Bound with Chains, though, is it's such a card that people just don't think about a lot. So, like, you play it, and they tend to not... they're not going to, like, waste their negate on it, because they're always waiting for, like, the big legendary card to use the negate on, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you kind of sneak Bound with Chains out there, and they might negate it, or they might destroy it later, but they feel like they're wasting, some of their magic kill cards on something like that. And I don't know, it was just we were kind of just doing some fun games, and he had pulled this out with this like really different type of deck, not one that he used at the Ward Bowl, and it was kind of throwing me off. And I ended up beating him because I had my creator deck, so good luck. But yeah, it was really nasty because my creator deck relies a lot on dragging things out of my cemetery because he requires 3 to get out, so I'm constantly making sure my cemetery's not too big. He himself has 150 health, so I have to make sure I'm not over 150 in there, because if he goes down, I'm done instantly. So with that Bound with Chains on the field, it just kind of messed with me a lot.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think too, like you said, with decks that don't have a lot of draw power, it does make a lot of sense of like, oh, I can't really just get, like, let's say I need that Foggy Night or whatever, the one that I've already drawn, and it's like, okay, I do have Visitor, I can't Visitor it, I can't, like you said, it is, I am actually kind of curious, now that you bring it up and we have this Summer League, maybe I'll find a Bound with Chains deck. I need to really play test a little bit with this card, because you're right, I don't see this card really being used at all much.
I always encourage everybody to build a bazillion different deck types. That's where Ward is at its most fun. Try not to get locked in to like, this is my deck, this is the only deck I use because I want to win every time. I always encourage people, like, I have like 10 different decks that all have different weird play styles. I got one that's all about locking them down. I got my creator deck, which is a very kind of classic Gen 1 deck full of tricks, and it's got its weaknesses. It's strong, but it has its weaknesses, and it does lose. I got my stupid owl deck that I played Billy with. It's literally every card in there is an attack negate. Every single card
It
is
was
an attack
so annoying.
But if somebody plays Time Melt, I just quit.
You
I'm
just
like,
lose.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, I have nothing to stop it.
Secret
so
OP
I just
shout
quit.
out. Time melt's
Yeah,
pretty good.
I have my Electroloon deck that every single card in there is something that shuts your opponent down from doing things, either stunning them, they can't use magic, they can't hurt me with maybe metallic bones and stuff like that. So when I played against, I think Adam, I played Adam and I used that deck. And I told him, like, if you get your Steam Golem out or your Steam Rex, I'm just going to quit. Because every card in here is, like, stuff that I need to, like, lock your creature down.
Use them down.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's very
so
funny.
I played him.
What? Just back to kind of just the question. I guess I want your take, if you could, though, Joe. For like you said, what's your strong mechanic right now that you think is like a little too strong, maybe in Ward, or maybe like you said, maybe it's a good kind of strong. I shouldn't say just too strong. Like maybe it's kind of a necessary thing to have it be strong.
Well, it's always hard whenever this happens because after a tournament, everybody always thinks something's meta and something's like overpowered. Then the next tournament happens and somebody figures something out that beats that. And then the next tournament happens. So, like, that Maniac deck was like the deck. And then somebody got Scarlet out on Tyler, and he had a bad day with that because it just directly shut everything down. And then, for example, I suppose you and around Billy was, though, the Assassin was the deck to play in Gen 1. You played Assassins because you crush everybody immediately. You kill all their weak creatures. They couldn't get past you. You're too fast. But then Gen 2 comes out, and the insta-damage cards just make that... It's too risky to play an only Assassin deck because she can die so easily from a weak Ignite,
Yeah.
and she's out. And you're wasting half your and you're wasting half your good cards now, Holy Lights, to bring her back constantly when they just constantly kill you with insta damage cards. And then there was a point when I thought the insta damage cards were getting a little meta at one point, kind of earlier in the season, probably last fall. There was somebody who was playing one. It didn't win the tournament, but it was looking really nasty. So we had tried building a few decks like that, and the insta damage decks are actually just kind of good against people who play low health creatures all the time, and that's about it. But if they play against, for example, the Alkanos deck, that's a little bit tougher because she does have a pretty thick health pool.
Oh yeah.
Even people who like to play with Necromancers or higher health creatures, that doesn't work so well because you have to use so many cards to try and burn their health down, and there's just not enough of them in the game. The one that I thought, well, actually, you know what? The Jester deck, the discard deck, was the meta, but it did get beat because the Assassin deck was found out. And then they couldn't keep their Jesters out long enough to do anything. They kept dying too fast.
Right. So even in Gen 1, there was still counters. I mean, Billy was just sounding like he was going to tell us about... how was the Assassin for you in Gen 1, Billy? It sounded like you wanted to tell me all about it.
No. I mean, the joke with our friend group playing Gen 1 Assassins was, okay, we're about to play a game. How many Assassins do you have? I have 1, you have 3? All right, good game.
Shake it up at that point.
That's not far. Yeah, that's... Well, and so part of 2 when we made the game was... And this is where me and Tom are just naive. So we made some of the cards like the Assassin, Legendary. Like, okay, it's going to be a hard card to get. Most people aren't going to have them. So we're like, let's make her pretty strong. So somebody does get one. Well, reality sets in, and the way trading card games work sets in, which I will admit when we first got into it, I guess we didn't know a lot about how the market works and how when people buy these things, long story short, people had access to them. The cards we thought people weren't going to have a bunch of, they had them, and they had 3 of them, and they showed up with 3 of them. And we're like, holy crap, that guy's got 3 Assassins, everybody's dead. So
That's actually interesting you bring that up, because it kind of brings me to a topic that I've wanted to touch a little bit, especially with the boss promo cards that just came out. Just promos in general. I come to this thought when I think of the promo cards is like, I'm kind of curious where you guys put them in like the box of like how powerful they need to be. In my head, I think promos should have like their own little gimmick to them to like make them feel like you said, I can make this in a deck. Like God Killer Brox. I think he is like a good understanding of like, this is a gimmicky card that only works in a certain scenario, but it's kind of a fun deck to play. I'm kind of curious though, as these new promo cards keep coming out, do you find that these cards start to become like the powerful cards in the game? And I'm kind of curious, like, is that what you want those promos back to, kind of how you were just talking about in Gen 1, where it's like some of these cards that are hard to get, we want to make them like strong, you know? So it's like I kind of want to hear your thought about promo cards.
So this is, whenever we're making promo cards, this is always the hard thing to come up with is, obviously people are going to want it because it's a promo and it's hard to get. So the collecting type people want to get it. But how do we get the collector and the gameplay guy? So I know, Billy, I know you're not a big collecting type guy. At least you're not in a 150 club, so.
Not yet.
But how do we grab both of them? How do we make a card that a collector's going to want to get, because it's obviously hard to get, but the person who just likes playing will also feel like they want to get it as well. So you have to find that balance. And me personally, I put most of them in the legendary category when I put them all in the legendary category when it comes to how hard they are to get your hands on them. When it comes to gameplay, they definitely vary quite a bit. There are certain cards that are clearly not a legendary card. I'm sorry, Marty, but Luke Tiberius is definitely not one of them. I know.
So
I have to admit, so many people when they first seen that card, at least when I was at like tournaments and stuff, you know, and it was like, oh, get a promo, or like at a con, they're just like, ooh, I love the art aesthetic of the card and everything, and they like the draw power effect in the card. But I totally get what you're saying. It's like when you finally look at Ward and like the whole scheme of it, you're like, is this creature worth bringing out, sacking a creature just to potentially roll your double dice on your turn and get an extra card? Like, probably not.
I played against Marty, and I did a game where every single creature was a promo card, the original 10 promo cards.
Nice.
And then the other 20 were just magics, whatever I could put together. And I got Luke out on the field against him, and I got so lucky. I must have drawn 5 or 6 extra cards on him and just throttled him. And so it worked for me. But he's so random. Like, if you're someone that likes to be a for sure, like, you want to know that this card is going to work for you the same every time.
Yeah.
One, Ward might not be your game, first of all.
Yeah,
because Ward is such a random game for anybody. I mean, if you have the worst luck in the world, but you have the best deck, in Ward you could lose. If you roll Snake Eyes so much, you will still probably end up losing eventually. Like, even, let's say you have all your Alkanos out, and that day you're having your bad luck. Every Alkanos is you're just rolling Snake Eyes constantly, or you can't roll even above a 3 to hit anybody. Mm-hmm. You're gonna end up losing. Like, it just happens.
Oh yeah.
Or you're unlucky. You can't roll out of that unlucky.
That's why.
Sorry, it's love. Yeah.
That's why everybody laughed at me. Even Billy, when we were at Ward Bowl. Billy, I'm gonna call you out here. I show him that I have Curse in my deck, and everybody's just like, "Why are you running Curse? Curse is not. You don't need Curse in that deck." I'm telling you right now, the only times I lose with my Alkanos deck is when I cannot hit a creature, and like it's like you need something to help you always hit, because if you don't, you're just wasting so much time that it's like I want to kill your creature right away.
Oh no, my 2 Flame of the Infinites won't hit an AL10. Oh no.
Hey, there's only 3 of them in my deck, so I might as well put another
my
card.
Poor Alkanos, my poor 5 limited summons with 2 Flame of the Infinites. Woe is me.
Or whatever, Billy. I don't want to hear it.
I'm glad you brought up Flame, because Flame is one that we've had so many debates on, trying to figure that out. So the original Flame of the Infinite, I don't know if 100. Billy was even around for this, but it was 100 it put into your cemetery if you used it.
Yeah.
Whack.
No, nobody used it. it was just like, it was too risky to use it at that point. Like, you're like, I'm going to give up a third of my cemetery if this person plays any magic kill on
Well,
me.
especially
Like,
when you in Gen 1 you didn't have like Foggy Night or any of these cards, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
No
I could
protection.
understand. There was not really any way to
Yep.
keep it alive. Yeah, guaranteed.
you had negates. That's it. You had negates.
9
And that's all.
negates.
You would have to negate away just to protect your own card. And
Yeah.
Hey, no scroll of silence though. Yeah, all right. Play the negate battle.
Scroll is the actual card that was put into the game because of the negate game.
Yeah.
That was the card. Tom came up with that one, and he's like, "How about a negate that can't be negated?" And I'm like, "Tom, yes, let's
See,
do that."
do you feel like you went a little overboard in Gen 2 with the stopping stuff though? Like I said, I mean, obviously I don't know if Foggy Night was like, Foggy Night probably wasn't your thought of like people are going to use this to not like let people play things, but like I don't know, I feel like Irresistible Love, Scroll of Silence, it's like there is a lot of cards that are like, hey, now you just don't get to do this.
Foggy Night probably should have been a 2-turn cycle. And honestly, we've actually tried to move away from anything above 2-turn cycles, and not because of overpowered, but it's because of remembering.
Mm-hmm.
We try to keep it 1 or 2 turn cycles. People can remember pretty well. When you get to 3, it's not super hard, but it does sometimes happen where you're like, crap, are we on turn cycle 2 or 3 of this? And then we've seen, sometimes players, they can't agree, and then they call us over. I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to know? I'm not watching your game. Like, what turn? So that's where we've tried to get away from anything that's 3 turn cycles.
I think it's a good call.
It probably should have been a 2, but we actually didn't. Foggy Knight's not the best card in Gen 2 alone. I will say that. It's really, really good with Gen 1 cards in there.
Yeah.
Because Gen 2 has a lot of equips.
Mm-hmm.
Like a ton of equips.
Well, I would say like good equips, like Revival Priest, Epic Loot,
yes.
Like things that it's like you want to guarantee these things go off, and like you can't, you don't want to have these things. But like you were saying, there's also Time Melt. Like I just think about it. There is a lot of things like in Gen 2 that also did just shut down, like you said, like the whole negate game in its tracks, in my opinion.
It worked because watching the best decks at the Ward Bowl, I saw a couple negates in people's decks, not a lot, and that made me happy. So I'm like, good. We don't have a bazillion of those, because when it was at the point when it was literally, I know you weren't around, Harry, but it was literally every card in somebody's Magic card was a negate.
Yeah.
That was the whole game. We would have chains of like 8 chain. Like I negate that. Nope, I negate yours. I negate yours. I negate yours. And it's just, that was the whole game. So the fact that at the Ward Bowl, watching it at the highest level and seeing a couple in there, people would still have them because they are still useful cards. I mean, you want to have them. We made them for a reason. They're supposed to be good. Made me happier.
I can just hear the pain kind of in your voice as you're like saying this thing about the negate meta. Anytime you have to bring up negates, you just feel it. You just the energy just falls. He's just like the negate meta.
Well, and here's how that happened. During the initial play testing, when we were doing this, we found that essentially all you had to do to win was just get a strong creature out, buff them up, and they couldn't stop you. So we're like, we need ways for you to be able to stop that. So we made the lightning cards, like, kind of not far from like how a Yu-Gi-Oh! Trap card works.
Right.
Or in Magic, what are they called in Magic again? Instants?
Instants, yeah. Instant Magic, yeah.
Instants, yeah. Not far from that. So we added a few of those, so somebody could be like, I'm gonna buff my creator up even higher, and you're like, no, you're not going to.
Right.
And this was our fault. So in the initial play testing, we didn't have enough cards to play test, because we literally had the cards I made, and I made about 300 by hand, laminated those suckers, and they're tough though. I don't know if any of you guys have any of the original demos.
I don't think so. I'm a little salty about the prize giving at the Ward Bowl. If you would have been like, "Here's all the prizes," and then
salty, I
got picked 3 times. I wanted that play tested card that you slammed in between 2 books, and we're about to talk about it.
You're the only one who has that card.
No,
but here's
Adam V. Adam V has that card, by the way. Yeah, I didn't
You
get
gave
that.
it to him?
No, I didn't give it to him.
No,
So I won a pack. Here, I'll show off what I got. This is what I won. I won this because I was first picked. But then when it came up, yeah, you do like a raffle system where it's just like, okay, this person got this, and then it's like, but if I would have had like options, I would have definitely took the playtest card that you slam between two books and put it in a printer in the library or whatever the heck, the public library or the school library, whatever the hell you brought that card to.
Well, and so the reason those are made like that and they're laminated and everything is because the goal when we had originally did that was like, I want these to be able to sit in my cabin all winter long, all summer long, different temperatures, and survive for years. So we can just pull them out whenever.
Oh, that's awesome.
They're pretty freaking durable. Like those things are not. Yeah, they're
You're
not
like
gonna
military grade cards we need right now.
they're
Yeah.
the thickest card you can find of any type.
No, that's really funny. No, real
Yeah.
quick, I did have one shout out, or someone asked a question, and I want to make sure we get it in before we end the pod, Joe, if that's okay. He said,
Yeah, that's
I guess I can call him out. Casey, he asked the question. He said Magic has something called reserved list. It is a list of cards that they will never reprint, and has given certain cards a collector status. At the time, or as time has gone on, it has slowly locked out more and more players from being able to obtain these cards because they only go up in value. This game is advertised as a TCG, not a CCG, so trading card game, not a competitive card game. Is this game going to have a reprint policy? If so, how? If you want to maybe,
Great question.
if you can answer, yeah. So basically,
I can answer that. So there is a plan to basically be done with Gen 1 at some point as it sits now. But we always want it to be available. So we've kind of thought a little bit more of the I'm trying to think of the route. So like there's kind of a way that Pokemon does it, and there's a way that Yu-Gi-Oh does it too, where Yu-Gi-Oh is a little different. So I don't know if you guys know, but if you want to get a Blue Eyes White Dragon, right? You can go get a Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Yep.
They're not hard to come by. If you want to get the Blue Eyes White Dragon,
it's like secret rare.
Back in '98 or when did it release? Early 2000s is when it was big. You're gonna have a hard time finding that.
Right.
It'll look the exact same. It'll have the same stats on it, but there's a little number under there because they all have a serial number that will be different.
And they have the serial number and they have the pack that it was released in and the year. It has the year, the and then the date, and then like you said, then a code that like basically was like that pack release. Yep.
I've always liked that style because I like the idea of everybody being able to have access to it or the ability to go get it at some point. Like you could go buy one from the store or something, whatever. But I also like the idea of rewarding people who invested in Ward early as well. That's one of the reasons why we are not reprinting the original Gen 1s anymore. Is so everybody who got on board, invested early, got a hold of that stuff, and they helped kick us into where we are now. It's almost like a thank you to them as for helping. Kind of like Kickstarter only stuff without doing Kickstarter in a way.
Right.
Will we ever bring Mark Evans' art back? Hell yeah, at some point. We will. We will. I paid for it. We're gonna use it at some point.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean,
but I'll tell you that if his art ever comes back, it'll be on balanced cards, though.
Right.
Is what it'll be. You're not gonna get that discard Chester again. We're not gonna, or if it is, he's not allowed in the game anymore. Stuff like that. But to actually answer his question, because I know I've been dawdling off, is no, we don't want to gatekeep any cards. That's the simple thing. Because it's unfair in the competitive play. I just want people to be able to get everything and just play. That's it. At its base, I think Billy, you said this one point, like when you're trying to figure out like how we come up with stuff. At its base, we're trying to make something super fun. That's it. We're trying to make something fun for you. If you're ever thinking like, oh, they did this just to mess with, I don't know. No, that wasn't the plan. The plan was to try and keep the game fun for everybody. That's always what it is. So
I'm kind of
it's ever
curious,
something-
Billy. What's your take on that? How do you feel about just kind of the overview of like, hey, we want all the cards to stay, but maybe like you said, you phase out some of those cards that are like, oh, this card was just too problematic, we can't play it, right? But it's like you said, going forward, it might have a different artwork, or it might have a different like view of it, right? But it'll still be that card, so that people can get a different version of the card in the future. How do you feel about that, Billy?
Actually, I missed that part. Yes to that. We still want to go back through Gen 1 again at some point. Not anytime soon, but yes, to rebalance, but the card still exists.
Gotcha.
So, I'll let you talk.
Yeah, Billy, how do you feel about it? No, you're good, Joe.
I think it's fine. Part of the game is, there is a scarcity involved in it of like, well, I'm in it now, so Gen 1 second edition's only going to be here for so long. And I mean, we kind of even saw it with like the Gen 2 first edition with like the first print run, the second print run, like, and so there's some of these cards that are like, oh, it got printed differently, so it's kind of worth more. And whether you you love playing the game or you like a collectible, I mean, like having value to it also gives, some sense of like, oh, I did something with like, well, if I buy 50 packs, I didn't just throw it all away. It's like, oh, I get to keep some of this, and like it might go up in value one day. So there's that, I don't know, you can trick yourself and say it's an investment, but it's a hobby and we all play for fun. So I think it's a good policy. It also gives, the team a good chance to do alt arts or like different kind of special releases if they ever decide to do that. So, putting the Gen 1 first edition Jester art on a second edition background, like that's gonna be different as well. So
just like the Jester or whatever, right? It's like you could just have it be that the version of the Jester we have now, but it just has that artwork, right? It's like I think that would be be very cool.
Yeah.
I guess to give my take on it, I like a lot of aspects of it. I do come from Yu-Gi-Oh! I do understand, like you were explaining, Joe, and I think you did a very beautiful job of it. There's like different tiers too, like kind of how you have your foil system. They have like secret rare, these different values of the same exact card. Which obviously I don't know if you need to go so far in that department, but I do think, like you were saying, going forward, I personally do like the fact that it's like, here, I want to keep all the cards in the pool, and that is how Yu-Gi-Oh! Is too. You can still, like you were saying, Blue Eyes White Dragon, you could play with any version of Blue Eyes White Dragon and still be able to like put it in your deck now today. And it's just like that is a cool aspect of it, because like you said, for me and Billy, yeah, one day we get to rock up with our first printing of Gen 2 or Gen 1 or whatever, and we can use that stuff, and then other people can still use the whatever version, let's just say Gen 7 version of Holy Light, or whatever. Probably not a Holy Light. I don't know if that card will make it consistently through, but you know what I mean. It is cool because, like you said, you almost get to see like the generation of Ward players too, and I think it is like a cool way to like also just like divide up those certain periods of time. But like you said, give those people access to still get those cards. Like I said, I like the whole policy of like just letting the whole pool be available. I do just think, I get a little worried because like it is one of those things where it does come back as like, hey, this can look a little greedy of like, here, we're trying to get everyone to keep rebuying these same cards over and over and over again. And I'm one for it. Like, I like the fact that you get access to being like, hey, and let's just say in Gen 3, not that I think this will happen, but it's like whenever you get to a point where it's like, hey, we are just going to eventually put these cards from Gen 1 back into other sets to be released, like you were saying, but just kind of like a different version. I think, like I said, it's nice that people can easily get access to it, and I really like that aspect. Like I said, it just, as like a collector, like Casey, I'm sure he'll like have a take about it where it's like, he got that 450 or whatever, he got all 3 copies of every card. Yeah. It's just like things like that become a lot harder if, obviously, I mean, you can still make the rewards nice for those people who like do those things, but like, you know what I mean? The commitment of trying to get like every version of every card of every, it's just like eventually it becomes a lot for those those collectors. So I was like, that's the only aspect I think that maybe gets a little screwed over. But I'm sure you probably have some thoughts on it too. Like, what's your take with that, with the policy? You know, how do you feel with like the collector versus the competitor versus the new player?
My first take is we might have to make a club called the Casey Club.
Yeah.
People have collected all three of a generation. Yeah. And I like it because that's my last name too. So that might actually.
Yeah, I was about to say the Casey Club.
Called the Casey Club.
And then you got to put it epic whale, and then you got to have the title be Epic Whales because that's what he is. He likes the epic loot. You know, that's the Casey Club.
Yeah, that's impressive. You must have done some serious trading to get all that stuff because I know you can't buy your way to get. It's hard to buy your way to 150 as is.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I would not recommend that for anybody.
I don't either, and I know I own the business, but yeah, I don't recommend trying to buy your way to 150. That'll get you close, but at some point you will have to start, schmoozing people a little bit and getting those cards out there. Yeah, and but I suppose if you buy enough, you will have more ammo to trade. So, yeah. To answer your question. The bottom line for us, and this is always our motto, is the game comes first before anything else. We always focus on the game, even above collectability, even above everything, honestly. PSA, holos, all of it. We always are focused on the game. However, it is a trading card game still, and you have to have the collectability aspect in there. So that's where we try to find the balance of, like Billy had said, somebody invests a bunch of money now, they want to know if they're getting a card now that will be worth something later, and people can't just buy it forever.
Right.
To answer that in very simple terms, yes, at some point here, the Gen 1 second editions will be phased out as they sit right now. They will be phased out at some point here. So yeah, and that's kind of a natural progression of every card game.
Right.
Eventually that happens. However, like I'd said before, finding a different version of those cards so they still exist in the game. Because I like the Alvarine. I want that to be in the game forever, and that's a Gen 1 card. So yeah, it's trying to find that, and that's one of our biggest things is, and trust me, this is something we debate all the time. Do we eventually phase those out? Do we not phase them out? Do we just make everything available at all times? And then there's the business side of it. How much more? That's more inventory we have to buy for things that not as many people are purchasing anymore. I know that sounds greedy in that way, but that's reality when we're behind the business.
That's part of running the business. You have all those aspects that you have to worry about. But I do appreciate your transparency and like talking through all these things because, like you said, it's probably not the easiest thing to want to try to discuss all the views for you guys of where you're going with it. But like I do really appreciate that you're willing to at least give us a little piece of it and be like, hey, this is kind of what we're looking forward to. And like personally, I love that because, like you said, I do love the fact that it's like, here, all these cars right now that we're all enjoying, I do want at one day. I mean, I have kids and people, younger people are getting into this game. They might never get to experience what it's like to have those cards. So it's like just always giving them the opportunity to kind of get a slice of what we had when we started, I think is first a really good way to like memorialize like Ward and be like, here, this is what this looked like then and now, and like just look at the transition. And so it's like, I do agree with you. Having cards that stand the test of time, like Alvarine, it's like, yes, I would love to see a different version of Alvarine. Maybe give us the undead version. You could just put that as one of the things too, depending where the boss battles go and stuff. I know we didn't cover boss battles, but I'm sure you guys are still in the works with all that stuff too. But I kind of want to wind us down though. We are getting to the end, so maybe, like I said, just kind of the final thoughts. I do really appreciate having you on, Joe, too. Like I said, this is awesome. I'm sure a lot of people will be really glad to kind of hear your thoughts and your takes as you kind of are the head guy of Ward. And I do appreciate it, like, what you've given to this whole community. Like you said, even if you question it every day, it really makes us all feel very great that, we get to be a part of this for sure. But
well, the stuff that definitely helps is like usually I'll have bad days. Like let's say it's a day we're not getting we're not getting too many orders or something like that. And or maybe it's happened a few days. I'm like, oh my God, I'm just giving Mark Zuckerberg all my money. And I apologize to everybody right now if you've been bombarded with our ads.
No, I think you're doing great. Healthy amount. People love them so much they meme on them, you know. And like I said, that animated ad you did, awesome. You guys keep that stuff
Yeah,
up.
that guy did really good. Yeah, he did very good on that one. I like it a lot. And I kind of like that brownie. He saw it at the podcast, and the way he said, he's like, "Oh, this looks like a '90s commercial. My parents wouldn't let me buy the product for when I was younger."
Right.
Yeah. Well,
no, you're good.
So,
yeah, little blackout.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, to end it though, a couple things that we have coming is one sec here. I wanted to leave you guys with this.
Oh, jeez.
I wanted to leave you with something fun. The guys are gonna get mad at me, but I'm gonna share a screen here in just a hot second.
Yeah,
to be fair, Tommy did the same thing. So you know what? You can't. You know, you can just be like, hey, you did it first, Tommy. It wasn't me.
Yeah,
but we appreciate it. We'll take whatever you want to give us. Thank you.
Let's see. I'm just we're just gonna show you something good. Let's see here. I gotta find it and make sure it's pulled up so I don't accidentally show off anything else.
No, you're good.
I can't show that.
How about you, Billy? While Joe's finding that, do you want to just kind of go over where you're at, kind of with just final thoughts of Ward and stuff?
I'll end my my thoughts with thank you for not to Joe. Thank you for not keeping the game just to the cabin and letting the rest of the world enjoy it. We thoroughly enjoy it, and I've personally made many friends through the game, so it's been a lot of fun.
But we're gonna make that cabin like a famous Ward place when this game blows up to a ridiculous amount. You better believe your cabin is just gonna be some weird, like, sought after destination that people are gonna like Airbnb to want to stay in and shit. Just
decent cabin.
Speaking of making more money, you know what I'm saying? Just think about it. Yeah, so Joe, you're going to show us what you got on the phone.
Oh, God, that's so hard
it's kind
to
of blind.
see.
Yeah, maybe if you click on it, it might... Ooh.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Okay.
This is the Ashen Knight.
Ooh.
Little Elden Ring, Dark Souls vibe to her.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah. So, Ashen Knight has a fun effect, and I won't go into too much what the stats are, because honestly, I can't remember them off the top of my head. But is basically a armor level 12 that it's a huge stat boost when they hit 50% of their health or less. So kind of like
oh, cool.
Like in a video game where you're fighting a boss or something, and at 50% they kind of like change forms or something like that.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
That'd be something she'd do.
Daggum Ganon fights.
So is that a new mechanic, a change form mechanic? It kind of reminds me of Magic. Some Magic cards have like when you activate a certain effect or whatever, they like flip over and they have like two sides. It's kind of funny that.
Nope. So it won't be anything like that. It'll be even simpler than that. It'll just be simply let's say she has 100 health. You're fighting them, and then they go below 50 or 50 or less. Now they get their effect that's at the bottom, and it says it right in there that they have to be below. And I think something we've leaned toward now, especially, is putting the word base stats in basically everything in the way we intend it. And Jerry should probably say that. Actually, he should say that. That's the way Jerry should be.
I always find it funny that Maniac ends up being that one card. I feel like it's like the only card with a little bit of text at the bottom. I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but it's like the only card I've noticed that has like that little text at the bottom that says like, oh, cannot hit. I think it's his like whole like doesn't get hit modifier added to him. I think that's always...
We've put a couple more of those in Gen 3, not a ton, because like I said, the key is, and I don't want to drag this on too long, but the key is always, how does this work for the high end? How does it work for the guys at the bottom? How does this work in a pack crack? How does this work? There's so much that goes into every single card that we have to make. I know a lot of people think that you're just like, you're just spitting out ideas and you just roll with it. No, there's a lot that goes into it. We think through these, and we plan to with Gen 3, we're going to open up play testing at some point. It is going to be a 150 club only event to start, and then eventually we will open it up to more select members of the public.
Hear that, Billy? Billy might need to get a special pass there, Joe. He isn't part of the 150.
No, I'm not part of the 150.
Do we just leave him out?
Earn it.
Oh, okay.
It's a 150 reward.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, Billy, I'll tell you all about it.
Tell me all about it.
With the initial boss battle, and then we'll do a separate thing for the Casey Club.
Ooh, okay. Whoa, Casey Club. Hear that?
The last name has to be Casey, or you're in the Casey Club.
I love that. I love that a lot. Here, okay. I think we do have to wrap it up, though, Joe. Thank you so much for your time. I got one more question for you. Why did you change the owl or moon owl? I was so hyped to use this card, and now it's changed. Don't tell me like you guys thought it was too good. What happened? What happened?
Well, I'm trying to remember what his original thing was. There was something we
AL9.
I'm pretty sure he was an AL9
because it was going to be too easy to just get him out and keep him just messing your opponent up the entire game. It was something like that. And that'll actually take a while if I keep talking about that.
Nah, you're good. I was just wanted to bring it up because like I said, we were spoiled a little bit. I was like, oh, you don't know, like when we were talking about boss battles, I think even after we ended our podcast, me and Billy and Todd were just sitting there just talking about those cards, and I was just like, we are all just so jacked for the Moon Owl. I was like, let's go. It's gonna be such a fun card. And then like I said, the last episode, I think I brought up, I was like, AL12. Billy's like, no, it's not AL12. I was like, yeah, it is, Billy. Sorry, I know it's not as fun anymore.
Yeah, and for me to nerf any of the owls is tough. At some point, I will make an owl that's actually like good and you know what? No, the man owl. I'll take that one.
Man owl. I think solid.
Right? Yep, Chris loves the man owl, and that's a good card.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do have, before I let you go, we have FanCon coming up. That's not this weekend, but next weekend, where we're hosting the very first boss raid that we're going to have, and anybody's welcome to join. Saturday, it's going to be at 1 o'clock, and that is going to be a pack crack. You can have 1 through 4 packs to jump into that boss battle. If you only want 1, you could do 1. If you want to get 4, you can get 4. And that's all you're going to be allowed to use for that first boss battle. On Sunday of FanCon, we're doing a bring your own deck boss battle. So we're going to see, and that one's going to be we're going to bump it up a notch. There might be a Chrono Dragon coming out for that one.
Ooh, a little spoiler. Okay, well that's the one I'll be showing up for. Unfortunately, I have Saturday things, so I won't be able to make it to the pack crack one, even though I would really like to do that once. But we will be making it too. I'm even bringing all the kids, so don't worry. There's at least going to be 4 people at that Sunday one where the big boss. So if we're taking on Chrono, we're taking on Chrono.
The more people, the harder the boss is how it's going to be. The boss is going to keep going up. It's going to be tough. And then after that, we have Gen Con. I don't know if people know what Gen Con is, but Gen Con is the largest board game, card game convention possibly in the world, but it's in Indianapolis. We're going to be at that. We got the invite to go there. So that's one that we could run into the Logan Pauls of the world and stuff like that. The guys who go to these things all the time.
Oh, yeah. So, we on our last episode, we definitely talked about Gen Con, FanCon for you. But, yeah, definitely a good shout-out again. We won't be able to make it to that, or at least I won't be able to. I don't think Billy will be able to either. But I hope, like, everything goes well, and I'm ready to hear all your fun stories about all the people trying to take your cards away from your booth. You know, that'll be it'll be a fun little time.
Yeah. You know what? If they're trying to steal my cards, that'll be a little humbling, actually.
Yeah. Please take it. It's all yours. Yeah. Put your name on it, sign it, sell it.
And then don't forget ExcaliburCon in Duluth. That's going to be a good one. That is the very first our hosted 2025-2026 season opener for official tournaments. And that's going to be a pack crack single elimination because we're under heavy time restraints when we're at a convention. Yeah. So it's going to be pack crack single elimination, just like we did last year. And don't be late because there's a special prize for people who get there at a good time.
Ooh.
When it opens up. I can't say what it is, What?
Okay. Give a little
You wanna
incentive. We haven't covered ExcaliburCon yet here. It is still a little ways out, so we're waiting a little bit before we kind of like talk about all the details just to make sure nothing changes or whatever. But yeah, no, that I love the sneak peeks, and I really appreciate, like I said, nice for people to kind of get see your face, Joe. I know us in the competitive scene, we've definitely seen your nice mug. I know a bunch, but I know for a lot of people who like aren't from our area that have been playing, or like all these communities that are popping up, they haven't really gotten to see you. So I guess, I mean, in a sense, this might be like your face reveal show of Joe Casey, the man who made Ward. So again, we really appreciate your time, but we are gonna have to call it for episode 20. Again, happy 4th of July, everybody go out there and celebrate. Don't celebrate too hard, but have a good time. Shoot off some fireworks and play some Ward. You know what? This gives you an excuse. You got a free day to play some Ward. So get it in there. But with that, guys, we're gonna call it a night, and we'll see you next week.